Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. As you can see on screen, the news has come out that Hellblade 2, if you remember, me and Doc Dark were in a podcast not that long ago, where we said 60 FPS will be coming to Hellblade 2, but it will be coming only when it releases on the PlayStation 5. And many in my chat actually said no, I was full of it. In fact, and quite a big number after that podcast actually unsubbed from me, saying that I was very negative and that wasn't going to happen. But as you can see here, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 Enhanced includes 60 FPS performance mode. Now this won't be available if you're playing on the Series S. This will only be available on the Series X, PS5, PS5 Pro, and obviously PC could play at 60 FPS plus day one. In fact, that is how I played it. I played at 60 FPS without the borders because I modded those out. It was a great experience and I enjoyed it very much, despite the creators saying it was a creative decision, which I'm going to get to in a bit, because this just proves that Ninja Theory, like many of these other studios, are liars. They openly lied. There was no creative about it, but we'll get to that in a bit. You're going to have updated photo mode, which is cool, developer commentary, and a Dark Rock challenge mode. This is coming to PlayStation gamers and Xbox gamers, PC I guess as well, on August the 12th. So if you're excited for that, happy days. As you can see here, you're going to get the performance mode, smooth 60 FPS gameplay, and I guess it's going to be locked at 60 FPS. Now obviously this is going to take a performance hit in terms of resolution, and I suspect that this is going to go down as low as 720p. So, you know, fidelity is going to take a hit with this, but having the option is always a good thing. Dark Rock mode, the Dark Rock will grow each time you fail, and so, you know, it will become more and more difficult. Enhanced photo mode, so they're going to add new features. Hear how Ninja Theory crafted an award-winning experience where they said that this game was designed and made to be played at 30 FPS, and then for them to go back on their word pretty much 1 year later as soon as the PlayStation version was ready. I'm hoping that that's actually going to be in the developer commentary, because that would actually be somewhat hilarious. But, you know, I did ask the question, as you can see here, and I don't think I'm going to get, you know, a response to this. Genuine question. The creative choice was to have the game at 30 FPS. Even 24 FPS was joked about, because if you remember, they said the game has that filmic cinematic experience, and they wanted to give that filmic experience, and they actually toyed and tried with 24 FPS, but it didn't really work and it got really stuttery. And so I asked, what happened to that creative decision? Does that only apply to Xbox? Now clearly they didn't respond, and I don't expect them to respond. And you know, Crimson Gunner over here is saying they just need to be honest. They were pressured. Well, I don't know what they were pressured by or whether they had time. You know, what I don't appreciate is being lied to as a consumer, and they did lie as a consumer. And you know, John is over here saying easy, the game will have looked like crap at 60 back then, needed big work. I appreciate that. That's fine, but don't lie to your consumer. What lying is one of the things, it's one of my pet peeves. I don't appreciate it. But obviously, you know, it happens a lot in the industry. But when you're gonna say something like that it's a creative decision, you know, you kind of need to stand behind your words. And you know, over here, people are rightly going to call out Ninja Theory now, and everyone has a right that's actually played this on Xbox to call them out. You know, they said it was 30 FPS on purpose to give it a cinematic feel. In fact, here we have it. Speaking to GamePro, the game's environmental art director Dan Atwell and VFX director Mark Slater Tunstall explained that they believe 30 FPS is the best way to play the game, as alongside the letterboxed aspect ratio, it creates a cinematic feel. Now I get that, but I went on PC with my 3090 Ti and I got rid of the letterbox. I put it on Ultra, DLSS enabled, and I was playing 60-70 FPS throughout the whole game. It very rarely dropped below 60, and I had a great time playing the game. So clearly there's some discrepancies here. They also go on to say, we don't want to offer a frame rate mode or anything like that, because having 30 FPS was a conscious decision from an aesthetic point of view. Going to 60 FPS gives us nothing, they said. So why is it now that it's landed on PlayStation has Ninja Theory decided that despite the fact it's giving them nothing, they have gone to 60 FPS? I can tell you that it gives actually quite a lot. Although the performance, you need a beefier machine or a lot more optimization to do it, it does give you a better experience. But they said, and this is a direct quote, we don't want to offer a frame rate mode or anything like that because having 30 FPS was a conscious decision from an aesthetic point of view. Going to 60 FPS gives us nothing, they said. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't me just coming on here, making this video, doom and glooming. No, I want to hold Ninja Theory accountable for the lies that they actually told. If those of you watching me will know that I will call out Xbox or any of their studios when they do something bad, just like I call out PlayStation studios, just like I call out any other studio. I'm not that type of person that's just going to simp on one platform all the way. I believe that, you show the same energy to all. And that way, the people that are viewing your content know you're not full of shite and not simping religiously for one platform. I am an Xbox fan. There is no hiding that, right? I've always said I'm an Xbox fan, but I also enjoy playing games on my Switch, on my PlayStation, on my PC. And I'm playing Death Stranding 2 at the moment on my PlayStation 5 Pro, and I'm having a great time. So as a platform gamer, this has nothing to do with doom and gloom or anything like that. This is just holding them accountable to what they fed us at the time, which even then at the time I called BS. I called BS because if you remember, there was a game called Redfall. On the back of the box it said 60 FPS, and then they said no, we've decided to go with 30 FPS, and then they came out with all these reasons that no one really bought, but it was there. Then came Starfield, and then again it was a creative decision to make it 30 FPS. They believed that under the way it was, and don't get me wrong, id Software with their double frame generation actually did an amazing job. The game felt like it was really running about 40-45 frames a second all the time, even though it was at 30. That double frame gen really worked. But they said it was a creative decision. This is what they believed they wanted for the game. Yet sometime after, they released a 60 FPS patch. In fact, there was a 120 FPS patch. Of course, they got shunned and embarrassed because mods made it 60 FPS first, and then they released an official patch after, which actually works really well. Now, whether they needed extra time for this or not is another matter and something to discuss with, but they didn't have to feed the lies and the rubbish to their consumers, right? That's where it comes to. Being honest with your consumer is the way forward. Lying to them and then coming back with this isn't. So now fast forward to Hellblade, which me and Doc Dark actually said was going to actually be 60 FPS at some point, especially at the launch of the PS5. Well, here we are. In fact, they said it probably would have only hurt us in that what we want to achieve is how we want to keep the film aesthetic and the film look. So what they're trying to tell you in this little script here is that if they actually release the game at 60 FPS, it would actually take away the essence of what this game is and its delivery. Yet apparently now none of that matters because it was all BS in the first place. And this is the point that really, not upsets me, because at this point I played it on PC. It just annoys me that they lied. We don't want to offer a frame rate mode, but we are going to do it when we release it on PlayStation. It adds nothing, but we're still going to do it anyway. It's only going to hurt us and remove what makes this game feel amazing, but we're going to do it anyway and actually make our product worse. That is actively what Ninja Theory is saying here. By adding 60 FPS, they have made their product worse. And they actively did this knowing that it would make their product worse. Does any of this actually make sense to you? Because it didn't for me at the time, and it isn't reading this now again. Now, of course, we had this discussion over here. So much for it being a developer choice to have a cinematic frame rate. And this is what's going to be called out. Ninja Theory, I don't want to think how much of a hit the fidelity takes, and it is going to take a hit in my opinion. To hit that 60 FPS, it's probably going to go down to almost 720p, almost guaranteed, and then it's going to be upscaled higher. And I said, I'll call out the BS when I see it, regardless of platform, because that's who I am. I told you this would get a 60 FPS patch the moment it landed on PS5. I've been saying this for a while. I don't even care for the fidelity hit, it's about the choice. And once again, Xbox treats PlayStation customers better, because this is an Xbox-owned studio. Shame on Ninja Theory for lying to its Xbox players about a creative developer choice. And, it is what it is. Like I said here, I played it on PC 60 FPS with borders modded off, because there was no way I'm going to play this at 30 FPS. It's just, I don't do 30 FPS. Dr. Ark over here says, LMAO, now it has a 60 FPS mode. LMAO when it's going to drop on PlayStation. Bro, Xbox really took a shite on all of us that bought the Series X. And this is the part that really, hurts as an Xbox fan. I get we get the games on Game Pass, and that is really amazing, right? Game Pass is one of the best deals. But they promised us that there would be no compromise in quality. And this is 3 games now where we got compromise in quality. Now, there is an argument being put out there that this is done purposefully because they had to rush the game out and put it out there because they needed game fillers to fill in that, that space, that time. And I get that. But you still don't have to deceive your consumer by coming out with all this creative decision stuff. I told y'all to do it, and your road Xboxes. See, I think Doc Dark now is being a little pedantic. There's no need for this. I mean, he moved to PC, and that's fine. Not everyone wants to move to PC. He's now taking it, I think, to another level. There's no need for that. The reality is he's shifting the blame. He's shifting the conversation away from where it should be, and that's the wrong thing to do. You shouldn't be shifting the conversation away and saying, oh, Xbox did this and that. The conversation is holding Ninja Theory accountable for what they said. And that's where I stand. And, you've got people arguing with this and making excuses, and you're going to get the PlayStation fanboys all coming out in good form to make sure that, this is all going to be documented to the highest degree. But in the end, for those of you that played the game, you've enjoyed it. It's been, what, a year, maybe 2? I can't remember when the game originally even came out at this point. It's been quite a while. It was a good game. It was a 5-6 hour game that I thoroughly enjoyed personally. I did play it on PC, so technically I did get the enhanced version. But I think at this point, this talk of it's a creative decision needs to stop. And any game that's coming out in the future should have a performance mode. If it's going to be 30 FPS as their main target, they need a performance mode. End of story. Whether that's going to hit a fidelity hit or not is irrelevant. Give people the option. You'll be surprised at how much more willing people are if they have the option. But I do think that Ninja Theory on this occasion wet the bed, well, I should say shit the bed. And, I think the actual reaction that Xbox fans are giving them at the moment and the way they're being questioned is perfectly okay. And I know they're not going to respond to anything because they've probably been given a gagging order from Microsoft themselves. But at this point, surely someone at Xbox should have realized that the moment this got announced alongside PlayStation, people were going to get a little bit uneasy, especially after they said, and I'm going to end with this, it was a creative decision to have it at 30 FPS. They did not want a performance mode at 60 FPS. It would take away from the game, the experience, and actually hurt what they created. And then fast forward to the PlayStation version, they are now celebrating in the comment section that the game is 60 FPS. So which is it? Your creative decision, or was you full of crap and lying to your fans? I'll leave that for you to decide. But like I said, folks, I am going to hold accountable any studio or company that decides to do this, whether it's Xbox or PlayStation. And I hope you appreciate that. I hope you appreciate that unbiasedness towards any platform. If it's bad or if they step out of line, I think everyone should be doing exactly that, regardless of whether it's your preferred platform. Like I said, I am an Xbox fan. But at the same time, I'm not just going to sit here and say, good job, Microsoft. Thank you for lying to everyone. Thank you for deceiving your loyal fan base. And thank you for making them look stupid. I'm just not going to do that. But let me know how you feel in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.